Okay, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I just got finished recording this episode. I'm all over the place. I'm thinking through stuff. I don't even know what I was thinking most of the time. I got confused by my own notes, and I started talking about a lot of stuff that didn't entirely relate. So it's kind of a stream of consciousness thing. Not only that, traffic was awful this morning, so I had to spend a lot of time really focused on the road, to be safe. That's what you do when you're on the road. You focus on the road. But it really detracted from the quality of today's episode. So if you want to watch a train wreck, just keep it rolling. If not, just tune in tomorrow. Thanks. Well, good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? Everybody have a nice weekend. Happy Monday. I want to talk today a little bit about procrastination, and in particular, how do you keep people from procrastinating? And what I mean by that specifically is when you have somebody who's in your charge, when you have either a child or a employee who is under your direct supervision, how do you keep them from being lazy about things and doing things later than they should? How do you keep them ahead of schedule? How do you teach them either what you as a parent thinks they should do or how they should behave, or how do you teach them what the company culture is going to be, what is expected of them in that regard? So you can run into all kinds of problems. You can run into, let's just use homework, for example. You could run into, did you do your homework? Yes. All right, great. Now that your homework's done, you can play whatever video games you want to play. Great. Go to bed. He wakes up, or goes to bed, and he's about to go to sleep, and he says, wait, I forgot to do X, Y, Z in my homework. Okay. You told me you did your homework. The rule was to keep you from procrastinating. You can't do X until Y is done. You can't do video games until your homework is done. Reasonable, right? The rule kind of at our house is you can't, after dinner, there's no games until the homework is done. Because a lot of times they say, well, he's been working all day, he needs to have a break. So between school and dinner, you can play video games. You should get your homework done, but if you want to play video games, you can. Good rule. But then what happens when you trust him to do video games? Or you trust him to do video games. I trust that will happen. Trust him to do his homework. And he winds up playing video games with the homework not done because he made a mistake. Well, okay, so it's your responsibility. Honest mistake. It was a mistake. It was not an intentional deception of any kind. But you made a mistake, and now the homework's not done and you were playing video games all night. So now what? Now do we need to implement some kind of a rule where if you don't, if where, my brain is really getting muddled right now. I'm not sure why. It might be the traffic, actually. It's kind of an ugly traffic day. I'm trying to focus on my driving. Scratch that. I am focusing on my driving, which is why my words are suffering. But if you have to implement some kind of rule to the effect of, okay, so now your homework has to be checked and double-checked every day. Or do you chalk it up to it's one innocent mistake, no big deal? I'm of the mind that you need to state what the consequences will be if there's another failure. Suggest that we implement the fix immediately, but leave that in their camp. For example, all right, you said you did your homework, you thought you did your homework, but you realized you didn't. You were playing video games without your homework done after dinner. That breaks the rules. It was an honest mistake. It was not intentional. It was not malicious. So I'm not going to fault you for this one. However, you got to realize that honest mistakes, even honest mistakes, have consequences. So here's what's going to happen now. You will... Traffic. It's actually a really crowded traffic day today. I'm going this back way thinking that this would be faster. You know, sometimes when you go the back way, you zip right through. Other times, it's even worse. And I think it's one of those even worse days. Anyway. If this happens again, we're going to have to implement a system where there's going to be no video games till homework is done and checked and double checked. And that's going to need to be checked and double checked by me, and I might not be available immediately, so when you're done with your homework, you can't go play video games right away. You have to wait until the homework's been checked. Now, here's my suggestion. Let's implement that system now. Because if you forget again, not only will we have to implement that system, but also you're going to go 3 days without video games at all. So we can implement the system now, and hopefully that'll solve the problem. Or watching the traffic, I can see why this is backed up. It's interesting the way the cars roll through. Okay. So when that light is red, I get to go. Sort of. We're delayed. I think we're waiting on other lights over there. Regardless. So that puts the onus on them. Okay. So either they're going to need to take responsibility, or there's going to be some kind of a this is going to turn out to be a very long video because I don't have my thoughts together. Some kind of a consequence, some kind of a punishment, negative enforcement, or that's negative enforcement, taking something away to make a good thing happen. So, or was that negative punishment? Golly dang, I can't remember that. Everybody else remember psychology? I can figure it out if I thought about it for a long time, but I don't want to think about it for a long time. We'll move on to the next topic, which is getting ready to walk out the door. In order to be anywhere on time, that's a punctuality. Let's talk about that later. We're going to do a punctuality episode this weekend. I've been talking for so long. Moving on, what if it's an employee? That point, you got to work on company culture. Now, maybe you're the owner and you're managing people, or you're the owner and you're dictating to the managers who are managing people. In any event, you have to work on company culture here, which is totally normal. And it's the same as the family environment. You might disagree with me on the way that I feel about raising children, and that's totally fine. You can disagree till the cows come home. However, the owner of the family, or the parents, they're the ones charged with instilling the company culture, the family culture, family practices into the family. So if you disagree about those particular practices, implement your own in your own family. That's totally fine. Got to come up with whatever you think the rules ought to be. That was my suggestion on what I think we ought to do. Now, going further, how do you do that in an office or a business setting? One of the things we used to have, these meetings every Monday morning, where the entire office needed to be there unless you had some kind of a valid excuse, which frequently we had some kind of valid excuse. But what would also happen is you would have people who you got to be there at 8:30, and people who would show up at 8:35 or 8:40, and it would delay the whole meeting, and then the meeting doesn't start. The meeting's supposed to start right at 8:30, and then invariably at 8:30 they say, all right, we're waiting for XYZ, and then somebody would say, okay, well, I got to go get this thing started. Let me go get this printer warmed up, or let me go clean this machine. So then other people would show up, and they'd finally be there, and instead of actually starting the meeting, now we got to wait for the person who left to go do something productive, rather than sitting there twiddling his thumbs. So they started doing this thing where they would say, okay, meeting started at 8:15, and everyone would show up at 8:15. And it's okay, so now my time is taken up. I'm supposed to be here at 8:15. So now I got to get here at 8:20. This is more procrastination, isn't it? This is going to be a bad episode. All right, if you watch this entire thing, I'm sorry. This wound up being an episode about procrastination, punctuality, not procrastination. So I have no clue. Probably one of the worst episodes ever made. Regardless, if you have an opinion about how to impose a disdain for procrastination, and I think I know exactly what I was supposed to talk about this whole time. Now I think about it. All I wrote down was procrastination. and it turned into this heap of garbage. I think what I actually was supposed to be oh, I had it and I lost it. Golly day. Alright, so I think it was actually supposed to talk about how you deal with your own procrastination, how you deal with getting your own self to do some stuff when you don't want to. Internal procrastination. What do you think about that? I don't know. Maybe I'm still ill. I was ill over the weekend. I didn't do that great. So I don't know what to do about this. Regardless, if you watch this episode, I apologize. This was a garbage episode. Let's talk tomorrow. Let's talk about punctuality and talk truly about punctuality. And then on Wednesday, let's talk about true procrastination, about internalizing the things that you need to do and how you can avoid procrastinating, because there's a couple different avenues here. There's a procrastination where you need an hour to do something and you can't find an hour to set aside, and so you've got to take some steps to actually set that hour aside. And then there's other kinds of procrastination where a lot of times there's the illusion of you need an hour, but then other times it's just you don't want to open up this can of worms because now there's like 10 tasks on your plate rather than just 2. So you want to clear out all these 2 and then start on the 10. So let's talk about that a little bit. And in any event,